Hi everybody, I'm Mahin, and this is another edition of Rocks Me a Question. It's been a while since we had one, and as a matter of fact, this is the third time I'm attempting to tape this particular question. The first two times I've had issues with background noise and some camera problems, so I'm hoping third time's a charm on this one because it's a really great question. This one got sent in from a writer who has identified herself as Hijacked Host, and this is a question about event planning, and this is a really good question I think a lot of people are going to relate to. So she says, Dear Mahin, I host a small local event, and for the most part it's smooth sailing and the dancers are really great to work with, but every now and then I get someone who just ignores the rules of the event or needs a lot of hand-holding. Do you have any advice for expressing and enforcing the event guidelines in a way that doesn't make me look like a big meanie? Okay, so that's what Hijacked Host wants to know. So this is a really great question, and I think that one a lot of people can relate to. Certainly I can. I have put events on for probably over 10 years now, and I have seen and done things at events that I never thought I would have to do or never thought I would see. So I'm going to pass on some tips for you for how to make your event run smoothly as far as dealing with your dancers. So let's talk about that. First up, the key to not coming off like a big meanie is to really be very, very clear and upfront in advance about what your expectations are from the people involved in your show. Now, if you put everything out there from the start and you're really, really clear about all of your details, then people can choose to participate in your show or not participate in your show. And they can do that in an informed way. So that becomes, it puts the obligation of complying with what you need on them because you fully inform them. Now that being said, it's your show. You can have as strict rules as you want, or you can be as lax as you want, and it depends in some part on the formality of your venue and your event. Like a hafla is very informal, and a theater show is much more formal and needs a lot more, restrictions as far as what can happen and what can't happen for everything to come off smoothly and professionally. But either way, it's your show and you get to decide these things. Now, if you are overly, strict about things, not a lot of people may want to participate in your show, and they might do it a first time but not a second time. If you are really lax about what you are going to accept as far as behavior and deadlines, then two things will happen. One is you're going to make yourself crazy, and that's going to make you very stressed out on the day of your show. And the other thing is that a lot of your people in your show who are otherwise reasonable people and following rules are going to really feel like maybe some people are taking advantage of a situation, and that can make things uncomfortable for them, because rules are kind of keep everybody on the same thing. I really don't even like to use the word rules. Guidelines and expectations, I think, are a much better and more positive way to say it. And that's another factor. So you want to get everything out there in advance is what the main thing is, and you want to do it in as positive a way as possible, and you want to make sure that people understand why certain things have to be the way they are, and also that they understand that it's for the good of everything to run smoothly. So if people can understand that, usually they are willing to go through a little more effort and be a little more on top of things so that the whole event, they've bought into the success of the event. And so that's what you really want. You want everyone to buy into the success of the event and do their little part to make everything turn out to be a great night for everyone. So we're going to go into a little more detail about how to convey all of these things and some things you might want to tell your dancers. All right, so let's talk specifics. Got my notes here so I don't forget anything. I like to make a PDF document and have that something ready to send people to who are interested in being in the show before they even decide if they want to be in the show. I like to divide my document kind of into a basics, general information, and a before the show section, and then a day of the show section. So, and honestly, people are not really great about reading long things, so I don't suggest putting these things in paragraph form. I have found that people are more likely to read them if they have a header and some bullet points that are very to the point as far as exactly what you need to say. The wordier you get and the longer it gets, the less likely someone is going to be to read all of the things and actually make an informed decision about whether they can and want to be in your show. I have come across this with contracts for theater shows where I've been very specific about some things, and it was very clear when it came to the day of the show that the people signed this without reading it at all. And that definitely did cause some issues with the success of the show going smoothly, I have to say. So, like I said, I have seen and done some things that I never thought I would have to do, and that has been one of the cases. So try and make your thing as inviting to read as possible. Keep it clear, keep bullet points, make it more list-like rather than paragraph-like, and you have a much better chance of people actually reading what you have to say. So let's go ahead and talk about the first part. The first part is your basics information, your general information. So basically you have your where is the event going to be, what time is it going to be, how long is it going to be, what's the name of the venue, things like that. So you have all of your logistics. If there's going to be an admission charge, you know, people put that in there, even though it's, if your performers are not paying that, and hopefully they aren't, that they know so that they can tell other people how much the show is and where they can get tickets. If for some reason you've got an event set up where your performers are paying, and I won't even go into that, then make sure that that's very clear up front. That may be a reason why someone may want to opt out of your show. Let's see, and is there any pay involved? If there's no pay involved, like it's a hoplet, just go ahead and say it, you know, just don't leave it unsaid, because someone may misunderstand and may think that there is. And if there is pay involved, be very specific about whether it's a percentage, a flat fee, whatever it is, and when it's going to be paid and how it's going to be paid. It's going to be by cash at the end of the night, it's going to be a check that, you know, you're going to mail to them a week later, whatever it is, put it right out there, let everybody know exactly how it's all going to go down. Other things that the performers are going to need to know in advance is how long are the time slots. You probably will have a different time slot for your soloist as opposed to your groups, who might give them a little bit more time. Also, if you have a venue that has some restrictions on props, you know, maybe has low ceilings and things like wings and, you know, tall props are not going to work really well, or if you're not allowed to have any live fire in there, that may be something you need to communicate. If it's a venue that absolutely has to have everything be family friendly, you'd want to definitely tell your performers about that. And also, if you are having a theme, or if you're really sticking to a theme for something, is, let's say it's a holiday hafla and you want everyone to have a holiday themed performance and you really don't want any non-themed performances, be upfront about that too. Let people know exactly what they can prepare for the show that's going to fit into what you have. It's nice also if you can get the information to tell them what kind of flooring it is and how big the stage is. This is really important for groups. They're going to want to know the stage dimensions so that they can get their blocking down and get their formations down, and they can practice it in a size that's going to, you know, let them be prepared for what they're going to encounter on the night of the show. Now let's talk about deadlines and things that come up before the show that you need to help all the planning go smoothly. In my experience, this is one of the places where hosts usually get frustrated, and I have the feeling this is one of the places where hijacked host is getting frustrated as well. So let's talk about some of the expectations. And again, we are sending this out to people before they're even deciding whether to be in the show or not, about what you need and when you need it. So you're being super clear with everybody. So the first thing is, do you need photos from them for publicity purposes? So if you do, let them know what format you need them in. Whether some for print, you probably need a higher resolution ones than for screen if you're just doing something that's only going to be seen like on a Facebook ad or something like that. And let them know when you need them by. Give yourself a couple buffer days, but give them a deadline, okay? So if you need photos from them, get that. If you are going to have introductions for people, then also have that in there. Let them know to email them to you and when you want them by. You definitely don't want them handing them to you on the day of the show, because it doesn't give you a chance to read over them and be familiar with them. So definitely have them emailed in advance, even if it's just a couple of days. You can tell people that if they have tricky names, you know, a lot of stage names, they're spelled, you know, very strangely sometimes and need to be pronounced a certain way. Ask them to give a phonetic, you know, spelling of their name, how they want it pronounced, and also make sure you put in a little caveat that you may edit for length and clarity in there. Some people can write some very lengthy introductions. So yeah, when you need those by. And now it comes down to music. This is one that I have definitely had some issues with. You want to let people know, of course, what their time slot is and how long their music can be. And you want to make sure that they know when they have to have their music to you by and what format you want it in. I usually ask for their music in an MP3 format. It's the most convertible and easiest to use in all applications. Some people will send you an Apple AAC file, some people will send you a WAV file, whatever. If you need to have it in MP3, please say so. And also provide a link. If you don't understand about converting files, or if you're unsure of it, please refer to this website, a Real Player Converter website or something like that. Give them a place to go and look for answers. And also maybe if you have a person in your community that does some music editing and converting, that they can hire to do that for them if they are not familiar with it. You maybe want to provide a link to someone like that who can maybe take care of their music. Maybe their music needs a little shortening or something like that. So it's usually someone in your community who can handle those kinds of things. Other things you might want to tell them. You're going to want to encourage them to share the information about the show on social media and their email, things like that. Make sure you have a flyer that you're ready to send to them and ask them, just be nice about it and say, hey, it's great when everyone's excited about the show. If you could please do your part and, get the word out there for everybody. I had a couple other things here. What was it? Depending on the formality of your show, you might need to know whether your dancers are going to be starting on stage or off stage, and if they need the house light or the stage lights up or down for the beginning of their performance. Also, you are going to definitely want to know what style of performance they're going to be doing and if they have any props. Because when you are putting the lineup together, you definitely want to keep things varied. So, nothing's worse than going on with a prop and having the person who went on just before you with the exact same prop. It's just really no fun. It's not fun for the audience, and it's not fun for the second person who goes on stage like that either. And you've probably been in that position. So you want to, mix it up for variety. You have soloists and groups and duets, and keep the two sword pieces away from each other and things like that. So ask everybody to help you out by sending them a description of what they're going to be doing in advance, and let them know when you need it by. So everything that you are going to be asking them for, you need to give them a date by when you need to have it. Sometimes it can be a little confusing to have too many dates. Sometimes you can maybe just have like an early date for the pictures and the descriptions and such like that, and then a later date for the introductions and the music. Whatever works for you, but make sure you are very clear about what you expect, and make sure those dates work for you. They give you enough time to put the playlist together for however you're going to be doing your music, whether it's on a CD or an iPod. I recommend both. Have a backup always, and gives you time to get everything else together that you need. So their job is to give you what you need so that you can make things work smoothly from your end. So now we have to ask the question, what if someone doesn't get something in? You need to think about this in advance. If someone does not get you their preliminary things in the first things you ask for, so maybe it's the music and the photos and whatever it is, the first things you ask for, if they don't have those things in on time, you can definitely send like a reminder email 2 days ahead of time and just remind people. But when you come to the deadline and you don't have that, you want to know what you're going to be doing. You make a decision. Are you going to send them an email and say, I'm so sorry you weren't able to get your things in line, will we give the spot to somebody else? Or are you going to say, okay, well, if you get it to me by 10 o'clock tonight, I can still keep your spot for you. After that, can't do anything. So you need to know in advance how you're going to handle that. Don't try and decide on the spot. And realize that if you let people slide too much, they're not going to respect any of your deadlines. So you're not being unreasonable by having deadlines, and please understand that. You're not just being a hard ass, okay? So there's a reason for why things need to be that way. So, be polite about it and just be firm about it. You're going to make a judgment call on some things, but know what you want to do in advance in a case like that, because invariably someone is going to do it. Okay, now we're going to talk about the section of your document that's going to cover the things that happen on the day of your performance. These are really important. It's super important that people follow these things in order for the show to go smoothly for everyone. So be very clear about what you need. And now the list that I'm going to give you may have things that don't apply to your event, and there may be certain things that I don't even mention that are unique to your event. So you're going to have to think through how your whole evening is going to be happening to know how your list is going to work. But here are some basic things. First off, what time do you need the dancers there by? So if you're at the theater show, you might need them there an hour and a half before curtain time if you're going to be doing, stage runs with lights and entrances and exits and stuff like that. Or if it's a hafla, you might just want them there 30 minutes beforehand, or maybe you even just want them to be there by the start of the show. That's completely up to you. It's your show. Whatever it is, you definitely want to be clear with your dancers that everyone needs to be there by that time. And if you have a group, everyone in the group has to be there, not just the one person to represent the group and the rest are going to come later. Everybody needs to be there. Now, if you have parking issues, like some places you have a parking lot, everything's cool. Some places, like, if you dance in Philly, you will have to find street parking, and then you have to drive around, and then you have to haul all your stuff from wherever you could find a parking spot over to the venue where you are. So if there's going to be a complicated parking issue, let people know that. Say there's only street parking, or you have to park in the lot, it's 4 blocks away. Please allow ample time so you arrive at fill in the blank for whatever time you need them there, because you don't want them saying, oh, well, I was driving around for 20 minutes trying to find a parking spot. It's not an excuse. If you need them there, you need them there. So let them know what the parking situation is so that that doesn't become an issue. Next thing, then, your dancers get there. Who do they check in with? And let people know that they're there. It's really important. You want to have somebody who just kind of checks everybody off, and that way you know who's there and who's not there yet. And then the dressing room. So let people know about the dressing room. Is there one? Are they going to be getting dressed in a public restroom? They should know that if they are. If the public restroom is, multi-stall with a common sink area and there's room for a couple people to get dressed, let them know that. If the restroom is a single restroom, one person in there at a time, there's only one ladies' restroom, then you kind of got a nightmare on your hands. And so you're going to want to tell your dancers to be fully dressed in advance and let them know, is a single stall bathroom, you really don't have a place to get dressed. And probably it's not the best place to hold a show anyway in that kind of situation, but it happens. And if that's the case, they need to know that up front. So also, I like to remind people that if there is a dressing room, that the dressing room is for the performers and it is not for friends, family, visitors, other people like that. Its dressing room is only performers, and if they need to meet up with someone else at the venue, to please arrange to do it somewhere other than the dressing room. I try not to get too, preachy about the dressing room etiquette. I always hope that dancers are going to know this, but if you feel like that it's something that needs to be shared, I did do a whole blog post on dressing room etiquette, and you are welcome to go look for it on my blog and send them a link to that if you feel like some people need a little education in the dressing room etiquette department. Okay, so now you've got to the point where you've talked about getting to the show and everybody getting dressed. Now tell them what time the curtain time is, or the start time of the show, and do start your show on time, because nothing says that you are not as accountable to them as they are to you, like not starting the show on time, and to your audience as well. Your audience, went to the trouble of getting there on time. Start the show on time. It says professionalism. So that's a big one for me personally. I'm really a stickler about having the show start on time. Now, where do you need your dancers to be? If they're maybe in the second half of the show, is it okay for them to be out in the audience in street clothes? Do you need them to stay backstage the whole time? Are they allowed to get in their street clothes and go into the audience once they are done? Do you need them to stay in their costume for a curtain call or for a group photo at the end? Whatever you need them to do, you need to tell them up front. So you don't want to be, chasing people down saying in the audience and saying, hey, you're not supposed to be out here. You get back in your costume because we're doing a curtain call later. Let them know this, and have a sign up in the dressing room, if you have a dressing room or whatever backstage area you have, that says, once you're done, you can go in the audience, or stay in your costume. We're going to be doing a photo, or if you don't remember, there's a curtain call at the end. You need to be in your costume. Whatever it is, have it in your document in advance, and also have a sign and have someone who's kind of checking on that as your evening goes along. That way everyone is ready for that curtain call at the end of the night, and it all goes smoothly. As the performers are coming close to their stage time, and you should have a list up in a couple of places where the dancers will be congregating, so that they can, keep track of about where you are in the lineup of the show. You're going to want to let them know, be backstage and be next to the stage manager 2 numbers before yours is on, or however it is you want that. That's up to you. So you want to let them know how soon they need to be backstage and ready with the stage manager. So the stage manager, you, even if it is you or somebody, whoever's doing the introductions, knows that they are ready for their stage time. If you are going to be offering photos and videos, if you have someone who's providing that at your event, provide a link and let the people know that that's going to be available to them in advance, and also that they can contact them directly so that they can figure out pricing or how they're going to be getting their photos and videos, and let them work that out amongst themselves. If you are asking people not to photo and video during the event, other than the person you've provided, then please be very clear about that so that your dancers can make sure that their guests and their family and friends and such are all informed that that's the policy for this event, so there's no surprises. If you are allowing people to do photo and video, just remind them to be courteous and to not set cameras up and that's going to block someone's view, and just to have them out of the way where they're not in a traffic area, this so that works smoothly for everybody. And the final thing that I like to put on this pre-document that I send out is that if you have any questions or concerns about any of these things, please email or phone me and ask. So basically you're opening the door for them to ask any questions that they need to clarify. If they have any special circumstances that they need to address, you never know. I mean, there's some very legit things. Someone has this really super crazy costume that they absolutely have to have their partner come in and help them get dressed up in, or whatever it is. Listen to them. Sometimes there's things that you have to say, okay, yeah, fine, we can do this. But in general, you just want to make sure, like I said, you want everything to be super, super clear. Don't let there be any, ambiguity about all of these things. And these are the things that normally are the problem causers before an event and during an event. So these are the things you want to be super clear on. And that's how someone is going to make the decision about whether they want to be in your show or not. Can they do this? Are they up for that? They're cool with all of these guidelines and these ways of doing things? Great. Then you get to dance. You're not, we can talk. Maybe it's not the show for them, and that's okay too. And the final thing that I would say is, after the show, make sure you send a thank you to everyone, even the people who maybe gave you a little bit of a headache. And also ask for feedback. It's really good to kind of grow your producing skills by asking people what their experiences were. What did they felt worked really well for them? What did they feel didn't work so great for them? And at this point, don't take it personally. You take it as just an observation on the process. Think about whether that particular criticism, maybe, is valid. If it isn't, just say thank you and leave it be. Sometimes people complain about things that they just didn't like, but there's a very real reason for it to happen like that. Maybe they said, well, I really don't like picking my music 2 weeks in advance, and I didn't like that. Well, okay, thanks for telling me. So, but, maybe you need that time to put that playlist together. So, that's just an observation. Don't take it personally. And sometimes they'll tell you something that maybe you could have done a little better job on. I mean, we learn everything as we go in a situation like this. Hopefully this prepares you a little bit so you don't have to learn some of these things the hard way, the way I did. But you can, take their observations and, take a look at it and say, okay, well, is this something that maybe it could be improved upon, and think about it. Your document that you send out, with all of these things in it, is going to, of course, be different for each time because your venue needs change and your shows, the formality of them will change some of these, but also they're going to change just from your experiences. But this is a good list to kind of start with. We all get better as we do things, and producing is definitely one of those things as well. And just keep it cool. If you get upset about an email that you get, don't answer right away. Take some time, think about it, call your best friend, vent a little bit, then decide how maybe to handle it in a nice, cool, and professional manner. So definitely have had to do that sometimes. So I hope that some of this information helps you in planning your next event. And Hijacked Host, I hope this one helps you a lot. And if you have other topic suggestions for Rocks Me a Question, I would absolutely love to hear them. I really do aim to do this about once a month. Life got a little crazy over the summer, and like I said, we had definite technical problems taping this in particular, and hoping this third tape is going to be the one that comes out. So that's it for this edition of Rocks Me a Question, and I definitely would love to hear from all of you. And if you have comments or things that maybe I didn't cover or you want to add, please go on the blog site and add them in the comments section. This is a great place for conversation, and I would love to hear what you have to say about all of this. And I will see you next time, and bye!